All right, good morning. Good morning. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the February regular council meeting to order. And before we move on with the agenda, I just want to recognize that it is February and it's Black History Month. And Timrod Library has pulled a collection of Black American authors' books for you to enjoy. I encourage you to go there. And in reading a post, I just wanted to share some of the history, quick history of Black History Month. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. This celebration of achievements of Black Americans and their central role in the U.S. history was the brainchild of historian Carter G. Woodson. And so I just thought it would be appropriate that we share that this evening. And with that, we will turn it over to Councilman Brown for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Please stand. You're welcome to participate. Bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I call on your holy name tonight, asking for your blessed guidance over this council tonight. Give us wisdom and thoughtfulness to make the right decisions for the residents of the town of Somerville. Let us be cognizant of each other and every one of our constituents and their needs. Please protect our public safety departments who protect us and their leaders, and bless all of our employees alike. In your holy name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Lenny, come on up. You're the next contestant. Come on up, Lenny Larkin. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man right here is the backbone of our IT department. As the 7th largest municipality in the state, we have a lot of things from a cybersecurity standpoint, a service standpoint. It is extremely important to the function of this town and the service to our citizens. Lenny Larkin goes way above and beyond the call of duty in his exceptional service to our town. He doesn't have enough support, and he will still treat you with a smile, drop anything he's doing to help you at any point in time. And more importantly, I think the feedback from our own town attorney says it best, that the town would go along just fine without the town attorney and the administrator. But if Lenny left, things would shut down. Thank you for what you do.
Got some good jokes too.
Next, we have approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for approval of the minutes of items A, B, and C.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the previous meeting minutes, A, B, and C. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, we'll have our presentation of the audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Miss Emily?
We didn't mean to distract you. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Emily Sobchak. I am an audit partner with Green Finney Colley, and I oversaw the financial statement audit for the town for the year ended June 30th, 2023. And so I'm here this evening to present those results. When it comes to the town's financial statements, it's important to remember that the responsibility does lie with the town. The bulk of the work that goes into that financial report really is done by your staff and management. And so it's important that they have good policies and procedures in place to ensure that the financial information that they're providing is complete, accurate, and reliable. That's of course important at the end of the year for audit purposes, but it's also important throughout the year as you're receiving financial information and making good strategic decisions based on that information. Our responsibility as your auditor is to audit the financial information provided and issue an opinion based on our audit. We issued an unmodified opinion this year. That opinion provides reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. So that is a clean opinion. That's the best opinion that the town can receive. So a couple of key terms there. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not absolute. We're not looking at every single transaction that occurred during the year. We'd be here year round if we were doing that. And we're also using professional judgment in determining our audit procedures and using materiality to help judge that or guide those procedures. So now we'll look at your financial results for the general fund. You had an increase in fund balance of 1.4 million, bringing total fund balance to 24.8 million as of June 30th. Included in that fund balance is non-spendable fund balance of 425,000. So that represents prepaid expenses and inventories, so items that are not in spendable form. You also have restricted fund balance of 810,000. That's restricted by third parties, and that represents your unspent lease proceeds. Those will be used for the purchase of the fire truck. You then have committed fund balance of 3 million for disaster recovery. You may recall that subsequent to year end, in September 2023, the town amended its fund balance policy. And based on that amendment, you approved to commit 5 million for disaster recovery. But because that amendment wasn't approved until after June 30th, we're showing 3 million as of June 30th. The additional 2 million is reported as assigned and will be reported as committed in next year's financial statements. Your assigned fund balance totals 4 million for it totals 4 million as of June 30th, which includes that additional 2 million in disaster recovery, as well as an additional 2 million for fiscal 24 budget appropriations. So after we remove those amounts, we're left with unassigned fund balance of 16.6 million. That represents the portion of fund balance that's truly available for future operations. In order to gauge how healthy that unassigned fund balance is, we like to compare it to your operating budget. And your unassigned fund balance represents 41% of your fiscal 23 operating revenues. So that's in compliance with the amended fund balance policy that requires at least 30% of your operating revenues in your unassigned fund balance. There are a number of reasons why it's important to have that unassigned fund balance available. Go to the next slide, please. One of those reasons is for cash flow purposes. We're measuring fund balance at June 30th, but of course your most significant revenue source, your property tax revenues, don't start coming in for another about 6 months after June 30th. And so having that fund balance available allows you to meet your cash flow needs without having to issue any short-term financing. That fund balance also allows you to achieve better interest rates when you issue debt. And it gives you the flexibility in choosing how you fund capital needs, which can be especially important as we're in, crazy times with interest rates. They aren't as low as they used to be, so issuing debt can be more expensive. Having cash flows, cash on hand available to meet some of those needs can again save the town money. Your general fund revenues totaled 40.2 million for fiscal 23. That was an increase of 6% from the prior year. That increase was primarily driven by an increase in property tax revenues. We also came in better than budget by 4.2 million, or about 12%. The main driver related to your budget was your business licenses, which came in higher than anticipated. Part of that increase can be attributed to the town's adoption of the standardized business policy that was adopted by the state for fiscal 23, and that created some overlap in when business licenses were received in fiscal 23. Looking at your expenditures, you had total general fund expenditures of 45.4 million. That was an 8% increase from the prior year. That increase was driven by increases in public safety, as well as an increase in capital outlay. Your expenditures also came in above budget, but that was largely or nearly entirely driven by your capital outlay. Capital outlay totaled 5.4 million, and that included the 3.5 million property acquisition from Dominion during the year. It also included expenditures for the fire station project, which were funded through ARPA grant funding. If we look only at your current operating expenditures, those actually came in below budget by a little over 900,000. When we look at all of your funds combined, so combining your general fund plus your special revenue funds, we're looking at total revenues for the town of 64.1 million compared to expenditures of 62.9 million. You also reported other financing sources of 23.1 million, and that primarily represents your proceeds from the issuance of the TIF bonds, so the bond proceeds and premium proceeds. When we look at your fund level financial statements, we focus on current assets and current liabilities, but we also have the government-wide financial statements, which include your long-term assets and obligations. So looking at your capital assets, the town reported total net capital assets of 126.7 million as of June 30th. You had depreciation expense of 5.7 million and several significant capital additions during the year, including the North Maple Street Extension project and the Fire Station 6 project. Both of those were ongoing as of June 30th. And you had the purchase of the Dominion property for 3.5 million. Looking now at your long-term obligations, we have total long-term debt outstanding of 49 million. That was an increase from the prior year of 19.7 million, as you had the $20 million TIF bonds. That issuance was offset by your principal payments of 1.9 million during the year. You also report compensated absences. That's your earned but unused vacation leave of 1.6 million. And we're looking at expected debt service requirements for fiscal 24 of 3.7 million, including both your principal and interest payments. Another long-term obligation that we continue to report is your net pension liability. The net pension liability is not a direct liability of the town, however. It represents your proportionate share of the total unfunded actuarial liability of the South Carolina retirement system. And so while that liability is large at 44.4 million, it's important to remember that you're not expected or even have the opportunity to make direct payments to try to reduce that liability. Rather, what you are expected to pay is the employer required contribution rates that are mandated by the state. Those rates have been steadily increasing. We had rates of 17.5% and 20.2% for fiscal 23. Both of those were a 1% increase from fiscal 22. And those rates have increased again for fiscal 24 by an additional percent. So that we are now with rates at 18.5% and 21.2%. The good news is that there are no plans currently in place to continue those increases. So they are expected to hold at the rates of 18.5% and 21.2%, which those rates are, of course, very significant and do have a direct impact on your operating budget and your cash flows. In addition to your financial statement audit, we were required to do a single audit this year. That is the additional compliance audit that's required by the federal government when you have federal expenditures in excess of 750,000 in a fiscal year. We looked at the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. We also think of those as the ARPA funds, and I'm pleased to report that we have no findings related to that single audit. Under our government auditing standards, we're also required to report any findings related to the financial statement audit. So for example, if we have to make significant audit adjustments during the audit process, that is required to be reported. We did have an accrual that we had to record to bring the financial statements into being materially correct. That was a year-end reporting entry that got overlooked, but not necessarily a signal of any concerns that you should have related to the day-to-day accounting for the town. In addition to your financial statements, we also issue a management letter each year. That includes required communications from us to council and to management. And so we do encourage you to read through that letter that should be included with the financial report. So that brings me to my conclusion. I appreciate having the opportunity to work with the town. We appreciate all the hard work that Rhonda put into making the audit a success, and we look forward to future years with you. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
Thank you, Miss Emily. Council members, any questions for her?
I had a quick question. On the letter here that we were provided, it stated that we did not audit the general fund and pension plan schedule. Can you discuss that?
So those schedules are considered required supplementary information, and so they are not part of the basic financial statements. And so our role when it comes to those statements is to review them and make sure they're reasonable in comparison to the financial statements, but we don't issue an opinion specifically on those statements. That's standard for all of our government audits.
I seen there was a recommendation to implement appropriate internal controls. Can you discuss that further?
Sure. So that related to our finding our audit adjustment that was required to record an additional accrual at year end. And so our recommendation is just to make sure that when going through the financial statement closeout process at year end, that there's a careful review of all subsequent disbursements and receipts in order to catch any of those accruals that are, one-time reporting entries. During the year, the town typically isn't recording accruals month to month. It's reporting more on a cash basis. That's standard for most governments, but those accruals are required at year end for audit purposes. And so that's an area where, because it's a once a year thing, sometimes those things get missed. So.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? Well, I'll just say, thank you, Emily, and thank you, Miss Rhonda, for what you did to get a timely and clean audit in front of us before February, mid-year budget time. So thank you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate your help.
Appreciate it.
For public comment for items on the February 8th agenda, I have Todd Jones for Noisette Road, but I believe you're talking later. Okay. All right, then I don't have anybody for the first public comment. For petitions, petition by Robert Norman and Cynthia Till Thomas to annex TMS number 13607020005, located at 1223 Central Avenue and totaling approximately 2 acres, currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential in Dorchester County and will be zoned NB Neighborhood Business upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. This is in Council District 1. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 5th.
Mr. Mayor, I move for first reading of the petition.
I'll second.
All right, have a motion and a second for first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For pending bills and resolutions, second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS numbers 13709010008 and 13709010050, located at 801 Central Avenue, totaling approximately 0.73 acres and owned by Tyrone Jeffrey Myers and Bernard Alfonso Myers from GR5 General Residential, 5 units per acre to NB Neighborhood Business, Council District 1.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we give second and final reading of the ordinance to rezone TMS 137-09-01-008 and 137-09-01-050, 801 Central Avenue.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second for second and final reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 20, Article 6, the Somerville Open for Business Program by amending sections 20-201, 202, 203, and 210, renumbering sections 20-210 and 211, deleting sections 20-204, 205, 206, 207, 208, and 209.
I'll make a motion, we approve this.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second for first reading. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like one of the administrators to let the public know what this is about.
Certainly.
I see Frank over there. Frank is, the guy is qualified to do that.
So basically what this is doing is cleaning up that ordinance and giving the town more flexibility on how we approach economic development and really making it easier for anyone who's applying. That's the synopsis of it all.
I understood that, but I just thought it would be good to let the public know.
Sure, absolutely.
And there is an Exhibit A that shows the eligible areas as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Councilman Brown. A lot of times we're moving quickly up here and it helps folks to understand exactly what we're looking at. So thank you for that.
Yes, and there was also some ordinances in there that we could pay fees for certain buildings and things. It was originally designed for Habitat for Humanity so that they didn't have to pay fees for their buildings. That will be reworded into a more flexible form.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
First reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13714090043, located at 114 Sesportus Lane, totaling approximately 0.766 acres and owned by Mary and Raymond Von Dolan, from GR General Residential, 2 units per acre, to GR5 General Residential, 5 units per acre. This is in Council District 3. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 5th.
Mr. Mayor, I move for first reading of the ordinance.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under miscellaneous, authorization for the town administrator to enter into a contract with Terracon Consultants, Inc. for Brownfields Environmental Consulting Services for $488,600. Terracon was selected through the RFP process. The funding for this is to come from the US EPA fiscal year 23 EPA Brownsfield Community-Wide Assessment Grant, and no matches required.
I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to ask, what are the services under this contract that are being provided?
I'll ask Jessie to explain that to you. She is actually the one who applied for this grant, and we're very fortunate to have been awarded almost $500,000 for this.
That's
Um,
awesome.
So there's a number of different services that they'll provide. Basically, this is kind of the first step in the Brownfields process because this is the actual assessment grant. So there'll be no actual cleanup at this time, but a large part of it is community involvement, identifying the properties to assess, and then doing phase 1 assessments, determining if they need phase 2 assessments, which is where they'll actually like take samples, that type of thing, to figure out what would actually need to be done should cleanup be required. And then it also involves reuse planning and brownfield revitalization planning, which is also involved with public, that would likely involve some type of public charrette, that type of thing, to get input from the public for that reuse and revitalization planning for those properties. It also involves a market viability study in which they will also reach out to developers and those type of folks to see what the interest is for redevelopment of those properties, so that once the assessments are done, it makes those properties much more marketable for future development.
Is this for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am. It's we were awarded the grant. We technically were awarded it in July of this year. But we didn't get the actual award letter until like October, November. But it is good. It's a 4-year grant cycle, so it's until September 2027.
And that's how long we've contracted with Terragon or will contract with Terragon for?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, if we finish sooner, like they're able to get done sooner and we use all the money sooner, then it could end sooner than September 2027, but that's the definitive end for this grant. And lots of municipalities, counties, Berkeley County actually is a year ahead of us in their brownfield assessment grant. But a lot of folks will then apply for additional funding for either additional assessments if they found more properties that need to be assessed, or they'll be able to apply for actual cleanup grants, that type of thing. The only thing with the cleanup grants is the town would have to own the property to be able to qualify for a cleanup grant, or it would have to be owned by a nonprofit. It can't be owned by a for-profit company.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just,
Yes.
where's this being applied? What section of? town?
So the focus of the grant is on Census Tract 107, which is our Census Tract 107, which is our LMI area of town. That's the focus. So that includes kind of downtown and the Brownsville area.
Yeah.
That's the focus of the grant, but it is a community-wide one, so it can go outside those boundaries, but it is supposed to focus first on those areas, and then it can extend beyond the boundaries of that area as long as it's within the town limits.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Ms. Jessie?
One more quick question. I'm sorry, Jesse. I
Almost me.
apologize. And this is strictly for environmental only,
And
correct?
Correct. It is for brownfield assessment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to applaud Jesse for applying for and securing a grant with zero match funds. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, absolutely. Well done.
$500,000.
Yes,
no matter.
thank
That's-
you. That's
great.
awesome.
Mhm.
I believe we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, we have a status update by AMH on Noisette Row. Mr. Jones?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. In early 2021, AMH bought a piece of property that we were going to develop, a little cut-through street between Shepherd and Waring Street, for the purpose of building a street with 16 homes in which we were going to construct and lease. During that time, as we came in for the platting process, the town approached us along with some constituents about entertaining the opportunity to not lease those homes for concern of what they would look like and how the community would, they would fit in with the community. And so through those negotiations, we entered into an agreement whereby we agreed to sell those homes, and the town gave us some variances so we could build some bigger homes at that time. Since then, we went in for our first permit in 2022. We started the construction of the homes, and I made the decision to start all of the homes in that community to make sure that I committed to completing that community and show the community around us that we had committed to doing that. We finished the homes at the end of 2022 and put those up for sale. I think we'd all agree that during 2022, it was a very tumultuous year from cost increases and really supply chain, but we continued through, moved through that, and built those homes. Since that time, we have we have put those homes up for sale. We have elicited the help of 2 brokerage firms, and to date, we have sold 1, and we have 1 under contract, which we hope to close this year or this month. Currently, however, as you know, the market volatility with interest rates have really made it hard to market homes today. When we first went into agreement with the city, rates were just around 4%. They spiked at 8% last year and hovered just below 7%. Most of the national home builders today are marketing homes and selling homes because they have bought a forward commitment, which we cannot do, and allows their prospective purchasers to take advantage of much lower interest rates than today. Then we're not able to offer that. Because we also have completed the homes, I don't have the ability to sit on the lots for a while and wait for the economics to change. So as we sit today, we have marketed the homes, continue to market the homes, continue to stage a model home. We have been continually lowering pricing to follow the market where we can. But at this point, what we'd like to do is simply come before you and ask for a modification to the agreement. What we'd like to do is just ask for some time. 3-year extension, allowing us to lease for 3 years, and then come back, stop the leasing, and then put them up for sale. During that time, all we are trying to do is buy time to weather the economic kind of tumultuous time that's out there, allowing us the interest rates to settle back down, us to find the market, and then put them out there for sale. Our intent is to sell. All we are asking for is a little time to work through the economic challenges that we're up against. Thank you for your time tonight, and I'm here for any questions if you have any.
Council members, any questions?
Sir, let me ask you a question. You just mentioned about leasing for 3 years, and then after that, you would sell the houses. Is this something like a rent to own?
We could do that. We could do a lease to own, in which a prospective resident would come in, lease from us, and then turn around and buy. Or if we just had somebody that was in there under a lease, we do 1-year leases. So we would not extend past the 3rd year, and then we would put the home back up for sale.
How many of those houses have you sold already?
We have sold and closed one. We have another one under contract.
Okay. You mind telling me what you're selling the houses for?
Yeah, we started in the mid 5s and now we are close to 500. And in the last one, we discounted over 10% just to try to get it to that point. We're in line with our competitor down the street, Center Park Homes. They too have kind of pulled back on construction a little bit and have just trying to weather the storm where we're not able to do that.
The reason I asked for that is we try to fit the homes to the community. Affordability, I know in that area, the affordability is a little bit higher than some areas, but if you price the houses out of beyond what the comparable houses are selling for, it could give you a tough time of trying to get rid of it.
Well, I think what we're also trying to do is not lower the value of homes in that market. I mean, we could lower prices and move through and be done in 30 days, but that would devalue the homes around us. And that was what we talked about from the very beginning, trying not to devalue the homes that were in that market. For instance, if the homes are in the 500s and I have to have a prospective buyer come in and have rates today, and maybe I lower the price of the home to the market today, but the interest rate is 6.9%, which is the prevailing rate today. If I'm up against some of the nationals that buy forward commitments, online last night, I was looking at what they would offer for a sitting home today, and it's in about the 5.75% range. That's a $300, really $350 value in payment to somebody to buy that house versus what I'm offering today. So I'm just asking for some time for that volatility to go away, and then let us put the homes back up for sale.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for your consideration.
For public comment section number 2, I'm actually going to start with one that Miss Diane Frankenberger dropped off because she could not be here tonight, if that's okay. I'll leave it time myself. All right. This letter is in response to a request by Mr. Eric Epstein for comments regarding pedestrian safety in downtown Somerville. I'm aware of council's concerns about public safety in downtown, and I would like to validate that concern and to make some suggestions on how pedestrian safety might be helped. Installation of signs at the intersections of Main and East Richardson Avenue stating no turn on red signal. Installation of signs at the intersection of West Richardson Avenue and Cedar Street that read no turn on red signal. These signs are already at the intersections of West Carolina and Central Avenue and Laurel Street and Central Avenue due to blind spots that endanger cars and drivers. The requests for the first signage are for pedestrian safety, as drivers look left first, then proceed to turn right, oftentimes having close calls with pedestrians. I would also like to validate the concerns about the need for downtown sidewalk repair. I want to sincerely say to you all that because of the goodness and sense of well-being of this town that is really a city, it is a joy to live here. Addressing the above concerns will make it more so. Thank you, Diane Frankenberger. Next, Tammy Taylor.
Hello, I'm Tammy Taylor. And over the last several weeks, several of us have visited the different businesses in downtown Somerville and the surrounding area and the community. And we have an open letter that we'd like to present. So I'm going to read this. Dear Mayor Touchberry and Town Council members, we, the undersigned, are some of Somerville's many businesses, institutions, churches, schools, and organizations at the heart of our town's economic, cultural, and civic life. We are invested in the success and vitality of our town, and we support the Town Council's mission to establish a quality of life that provides a safe, healthy, beautiful, and harmonious place to live and work. We congratulate and welcome our new mayor, our newly elected council members, and our returning council members. During this election, we were encouraged by how quality of life was a central campaign issue, specifically addressing the problem of Somerville's lack of connectedness and walkability. Good town design is all about connections, meaning the ability for residents of all ages, physical abilities, and financial means to safely and comfortably walk or ride a bike to any place in town. Walkable and bikeable towns have proven to be essential for promoting active living and longer life expectancy, supporting healthy childhood development, providing independence to our elderly and handicapped, saving lives by reducing automobile pedestrian accidents, reducing traffic by giving residents alternatives to driving, thereby taking cars off the streets, fostering social interaction, creating a sense of place, and building town pride, reducing mobility barriers for residents with financial hardships, increasing property values, desirability, and investments, increasing foot traffic at stores and businesses, which fuels the local economy, provides job opportunities, grows business revenue, and strengthens the tax base. The more connected the various parts of a town, the better the quality of life for its residents. Unfortunately, Somerville does not have a well-connected pedestrian network, but is a patchwork of isolated islands separated by traffic corridors designed for cars, not people. A lot of our sidewalks, town sidewalks and crosswalks are either discontinuous, in disrepair, or non-existent. Some residents within walking distance of a church, park, or store cannot walk there safely. Children are robbed of their independence and healthy development as they find themselves trapped in their immediate neighborhoods, unable to walk or bike to a friend's house or school or to the ice cream store. Out of some necessity, some residents resort to walking on active roadways alongside moving traffic. As cars and trucks pass them, they have to step aside to walk on dirt and through roadside ditches. Even if they're lucky enough to find a sidewalk, they often cannot cross the street at most intersections are designed solely for car traffic with hardly any pedestrian crosswalks. Bicycling is also nearly impossible. We have all seen those poor souls trying to balance their bike along a road's uneven edge with trucks hurtling by within inches. The good news is that we can transform Somerville into a walkable, bikeable, and pedestrian-friendly town if we install comfortable, continuous sidewalks and controlled street intersections with crosswalks designed for people. Our focus, at least initially, should be on fixing our town core area and major roads to stitch together adjacent neighborhoods to each other in our downtown. If done right, the impact and benefits will be felt immediately. We applaud the election candidates who promised to fix our sidewalks to nowhere and urge the mayor and town council to prioritize this vital infrastructure project. As our civic leaders, we have the opportunity to leave a positive, lasting legacy by creating a walkable, bikeable, and truly connected Somerville. Let's make it happen. And we have many churches. We have over 80 signatures on this letter, and we've just spent a couple of weeks talking to people. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy O'Keefe.
Okay, that clock makes me really nervous, so I'm just going to read as fast as I can. My name is Sandy O'Keefe. I'm a resident in the town of Somerville. I live off of Charlie Road, and I'm also a business development officer with First Capital Bank on Main Street. I'm here today to speak on the lack of safety measures in place for cyclists and pedestrians from a recreational and a commuting perspective. I am an accomplished and experienced runner and cyclist. I've been running and riding around Somerville and the neighboring communities for 15 years, logging thousands of miles. I would ride anywhere from 50 to 100 miles every weekend. I can say with certainty that over the last 10 years, the roads in Somerville have become less safe as more and more people have moved to the area. I have unfortunately felt the roads around here are so unsafe that I have either driven my car all the way to Mount Pleasant, or I ultimately put my bicycle on a trainer and ride in my house. In addition to recreational riding, I've also logged many miles and many hours on our roads any time of the day, whether it's a training ride, a bike ride with my kids, or if I woke up on a beautiful day and decided to ride my bike to work, which I often do. During these times, I've had the unfortunate experiences of being cussed at, spit at, taunted, and have had many items thrown at me, including beer bottles. I've had the unfortunate experience of being brushed by multiple truck mirrors and run off the road. All of this is due to not only the lack of bike lanes, but the width of the bike lanes we do have. For example, Charlie Road has a 4-foot bike lane that edges up to a curb. In order to avoid hitting the curb, we have to ride at least 10 inches away. And I take up 16 inches from shoulder to shoulder on a bike, which leaves only 2 feet of clearance between myself and a vehicle. This is barely enough room for a vehicle to safely pass a person on a bike while driving 45 miles per hour. This is one example of a road that actually has a bike lane. There are also many roads in town that barely have a shoulder. As a cyclist by law, we have every right to the road as a vehicle. Due to the lack of bike lanes, drivers approach us and get frustrated because they must slow down, cross the yellow line in order to pass us safely. The lack of safe infrastructure is what causes the aggressive attitudes towards cyclists, and we need the town's help to fix that. I live 5 miles from my office on Main Street. Like I said, I often ride my bike to work. I rarely need to drive a car once I'm at my office. I'm 2 blocks away from my favorite coffee shop where I frequently have business meetings, 2 blocks from my favorite lunch spot on Short Central, and 2 blocks from the YMCA where I like to work out. When I have my bike with me, I'm hesitant to ride it to these places because of the dangers of riding on a 4-lane road on Main Street. I oftentimes head out on Cedar because it's safer to ride on a 2-lane road with a lower speed limit. Cars still get frustrated, but they're forced to slow down and wait to pass to pass the yellow line. If Main Street were to lower the speed limit and have a designated bike lane, it would alleviate the disdain from drivers who I encounter every time I'm on my bike. I also want to touch on the lack of visible crosswalks. We have a vibrant downtown, and the only main crosswalk that is loud and visible is the one at Hutchinson Square. I oftentimes have to cross Main Street at the closest intersection from my office, which is by the CVS on East 2nd North Street. And every time I cross, when the light turns, I have to remember to count to 5 before crossing because cars will continue to run red lights and fly through that intersection. In closing, I would be remiss if I didn't say, for a town that promotes a live, work, play mantra, I can honestly say that sentiment unfortunately has faded for me over time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Epstein.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Council members, Mr. Mayor. Eric Epstein. I'm a resident. I'm also a small business owner here in Somerville, and I'm here to support the open letter and the need for Somerville to be made walkable. My family and I live within walking distance of here, and I would love for my 13-year-old son to be able to get on a bike or to walk with his friends or by himself to Hutchinson Square. No, cannot do that. Not safe. I'm not going to let him. Now, I know that all of you would love to make Somerville walkable, and I get it that, perhaps till now there have been other things that have gotten in the way, or perhaps you thought that it wasn't the political support for this, but we here as businesses, as a community of businesses, we're here to say, not only do we support you in this endeavor, we urge you to get it done. And hopefully, please start right away. As we do embark on this, as we get this fixed, let's try to do this properly. And I want to offer 2 points to keep in mind as we move forward with this. The first is pedestrian networks are networks, and networks are continuous. They need to be continuous in order to work. We can't, it's not enough to fix a sidewalk here, a little crosswalk here, maybe an intersection there. I mean, that may help a little bit, but that's not actually going to solve the problem. People are not just going to start walking in the streets the next day because this network of the pedestrian network is still broken. So it needs to be continuous, and we need to start thinking holistically and perhaps take small areas, make them whole, make them complete so that it works there. Then take corridors that lead to that, make them whole. And that way we'll be stitching the neighborhoods on either side of those corridors together, and we'll be creating pathways for people to walk and bike to downtown or to stores. And that's how I could see this moving forward. Now, it doesn't mean that every single block in the entire town needs to have a sidewalk. That's not what we're saying. But the objective is that you should be able to, from your neighborhood, safely get out of the neighborhood, cross into another neighborhood, get to a store, certainly get to downtown safely. And that should be the objective. The second point I'd like to make is that town design is not so much a science as it is an art. Yet we have a tendency to hire traffic engineers to design our towns. Now, traffic engineers are wonderful people. As an architect, I hire them all the time, and they're great for coming up with devising formulas and crunching numbers and finding efficiencies. But that's not what a town is about. And a good example of when traffic engineers have their way and run the show is what's happening at Berlin-Myers Interchange and Carolina Avenue. Have you seen this thing going up there? They are building an interstate style interchange for 2 roads with 2 lanes in each direction. They're building a machine. They're building a machine for moving cars and nothing else. Now, it's a traffic engineer's dream, but it's a pedestrians and bicyclists' nightmare. What you'll have to do now is cross 4 times through that intersection on curving ramps, hoping that the cars will actually stop for you. Good luck with that. And this is just to get across the street and get to the Sawmill Trail. And Mr. Mayor, you correctly pointed out, this interchange, these ramps are literally going to be the gateway to the historic Somerville. Towns are not machines. Quality of life, walkability, livability are not about crunching numbers, not about finding efficiencies. Instead, it's about creating inviting, comfortable places, making memorable experiences, promoting synergies, making connections. It's about designing for people. And this is precisely the realm of architecture and urban design. And while traffic engineers have a supporting role, an important supporting role, the effort has to be led by urban designers, by architects, by planners with the expertise in designing livable towns. So as someone who's in this field, I'm more than happy to assist and help the town in any way.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Or help you find.
Thank you
the
for your
right professional.
comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Christopher McClure.
Okay, let's see. Let me make sure I'm not gonna blow this thing out. Okay. Even though I've spoken on the stage quite a few times before, I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Chris McClure, and I am the director of a newly established nonprofit Bike Walk Somerville, nonprofit 501c3 organization that has advocated for the bicycle and pedestrian community within the greater Somerville region since 2018. During the previous mayoral election, we had the honor of speaking to various candidates on the importance of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure and safety. And I wanted to start off by saying that we are very thankful to have our voices heard throughout the very noisy election cycle. We're just very honored that we had that opportunity to be able to talk to candidates as well as existing town council members. So I wanted to start off with that. As a nonprofit organization, we're very excited at the potential we have to make a greater impact on our community by solving problems that are facing the groups we represent today, while we advocate for change that will come into the future. And our plans for programs directly addresses some of the challenges and pain points to riding and walking safely within the town. One example of this is raising funds through donations and grants to address the lack of convenient bicycle parking in the region of Somerville, starting with the downtown core area, our very own Hutchinson Square. And the idea of this is to encourage, to encourage more like people to be able to bike and walk, to be able to bike comfortably and not have to cross North Main Street 4 times if they want to visit, say, Puma's Italian Ice, and make sure that their bike will actually be there when they come back from the Sawmill Branch Trail. Another is to make people more visible by collecting and distributing reflective safety clothing to our less fortunate communities in the winter when it gets darker out and when to our communities that need them the most. We also intend to gather and publish data to quantify the amount of close calls and traffic counts that unfortunately can be very hard to find, if not impossible to find, for the public's benefit, and also to make sure that we're all operating from the same set of facts and not just like our own individual perspectives, which do matter. However, it's nice to know that we all have the same facts to start off from. On top of that, we will continue to gather the community towards public comment opportunities and also lend our support to items such as the open letter that we help gather signatures for, to make sure that all stakeholders are involved. Because we know that having multiple perspectives is very important when it comes to something as important as the economic development and opportunity of a town. Tonight, I also came to speak with the intention of not just introducing the group or reintroducing the group, but also to clarify who we represent based on the public input at our Third Thursday booth appearances. Also, we've had appearances at National Night Out and different community engagement events, like a group ride to the farmer's market, where we had 81 riders of all different demographics. We had seniors, we had people from West Ashley, Nexton, families with children come, like even kids riding in the little bike trailers behind the parents. It was really cute. And with all of that in mind, I just wanted to say that we don't just, a lot of people assume that we represent only runners and sports cyclists, but that's not the case. We represent families with children who don't have many places to ride, not even within their own neighborhoods, without worrying about their safety. We represent the seniors and children who cannot feel safe crossing 5-lane roadways due to the number of vehicles and conflict points that have to be accounted for. We represent those who don't have access to vehicles due to financial means. I serve at Seacoast Church, and we definitely have a lot of people that come up to our doors, asking for food, that come in by bike. They don't have a choice. So they're going to be there regardless of whether we keep them in mind design-wise. And I think very importantly, we also represent those who just want to walk or ride for transportation, whether it's crossing the street to get to their favorite restaurant or riding a bike a few miles to avoid parking and traffic frustrations. And I also wanted to say too, that this is something that we see as solutions to problems within the town. This is not just us wanting to do like sick tricks and wheelies down, the street just for the sake of, for fun. We see this as problems to things like traffic congestion, parking demand. And I thank you guys for the opportunity and hope to work with you guys in the future on some of the programs that I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much.
Linda Wetzel.
Good afternoon. To the city council, you are the ones who control what the zonings in our city. You are the ones who determine our quality of life. Daily, my life is distressed. With Central Avenue businesses behind my house, I live at 108 Atlantic Street in Somerville, which is in the city. I have constant music, constant industrial fumes, constant loud noises. And that does not make a happy camper paying taxes to live in Somerville like this. and I have a problem. I was almost attacked at my house. I walked up my front door, a Rottweiler. I called the police. They went to the house. The lady didn't answer the door. Took her about almost 40 minutes. The police walked all around the house. I watched them. She refused to come out, or she said she was playing video games, or somebody was playing video games. I don't want to be dead by a Rottweiler. They have other dogs there, Doberman Pinscher, not Doberman Pinscher, Pit Bull, and another little dog. I open my door in the mornings. I walk out. The dog has messed all over my yard. And I went to the lady and I asked her, why can't you keep your dog? She said, what dog? The dog was standing right there. He followed me to their house. This is ridiculous. You're supposed to have a leash on your dog. You're supposed to pick up the poop and everything. And there's another problem on Atlantic Street, traffic. It's a short street, but we need the speed bumps. This lady drives like a bat out of hell every day. And when I'm backing out of my driveway, I want to survive. And this is going on. And this is constantly every day. And I can't get the police. I have asked for the police to come down there to traffic control or be in our area. I haven't seen a policeman in I don't know how long. And I asked several neighbors and they haven't seen them. What are we paying for? The taxes? You don't respect us? Just because I'm the one person here from that community, I'm concerned because my life is in danger because of a pit bull. My life is in danger because of the dust and the noise. I don't sleep. And on TV the other day, they showed where industrial business who make countertops is endangered for that community because of the dust and the residue. In the morning when I wake up, my windows on my car is messed up. When it rains, it looks like I don't ever take care of my car. This is not fair. And I've been here so many times to the city council and the county council, and nobody has done a thing. Oh yeah, they came over, but they looked, but never came back. The water, the drainage in my backyard, because of the fence that they have in the backyard, when it rains a day or a day and a half, I have a pool in my backyard without the concrete sidings to walk around. And this is not fair. Now somebody got to do something. You were elected to take care of us. Help me or help the whole town. It's not only me, it's all over town that I see a lot of things that's not being done by the city council. People complain, and it's like the guy or the ladies have been talking about the walking. That's ridiculous. Central Avenue, you try to walk over there. The same thing goes on over there. Mr. Mayor, you're new. Please do something. Councilmen, y'all do something because it's not fair. And I've been here been on Atlantic Street since 1959 when my parents first bought the house. I left, I came back, and it's gotten worse. Not just because it's a dead-end street, but still yet, nobody cares about us. No police coming up. Lately, they have. Oh, I really love the parks of the stormwater drainage. They finally come there and clean the ditches out before all this rain. And I told the mayor the January meeting, I'm proud of them for doing it because the water is going through the pipes. And I don't have to worry about a lot of the water that's coming in my front yard. But please, help us. Help me learn how to sleep again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
J. Jones Elliott.
Good evening. I'm Jay Elliott. I am the president and CEO of Dorchester Habitat for Humanity, and I am honored to speak before you tonight on behalf of Bikeable and Walkable Somerville. As an organization, Dorchester Habitat for Humanity is committed to providing opportunities for a decent and affordable place to live for our neighbors and community members. Most of our homeowners, the majority of our homeowners and future homeowners come from neighborhoods, apartment complexes, mobile homes, even residential communities that are deplorable and unsafe. And we try to select our properties to build on in places that we would want to live, in places that we feel comfortable giving an opportunity for someone to start a new life in a decent and affordable home that's theirs. Having a yard to play in, having a bike, a place that children can ride their bikes, can walk, is extremely important. And I would say probably most of our families who have children, younger children, one of the things that you ask them is, why do you want a Habitat home? And I'll start crying probably when I talk about our families, but always the answer comes back, I'd love for my kids to be able to play in the yard and have a place to play in a playhouse, walk, play in the yard, and ride their bikes. So that type of community is extremely important for our growing families and for all of our families. And for older people, people who are raising kids, who may be single moms or single mothers, to have the ability to have access to parks and the beautiful parks and the beautiful downtown and all of the events that happen here in Somerville that make our town so very special is an opportunity for them to become members of our community. Something that they have not had the opportunity to do before in their previous lives. The mobile home parks, the apartments, the homes that they come from, that they are renting, usually they're scared to walk from their front door to their cars. It's I'm scared of being carjacked. And vehicles are so very, very important to our families. And that is one of their major expenditures. And it's, realistic when you think about it. That is the way they earn their living. They have to have transportation to earn their living. Having the opportunity to bike or walk to a place of work or to buy groceries would be a tremendous blessing to our families. I'll share a story and I will probably start crying in real tears, like gigantic tears when I share this story. We've talked about Central Avenue, a few of our families have here tonight. And we had a mother and daughter who purchased and built their own home on Craig Court in Somerville off of Central Avenue. Anna and Amber Walker. Anna was the mom, and Amber was a student at Trident Tech and also worked 2 jobs to care for her mom and herself. One July the 21st of 2018, Anna, the mom, and her nephew were walked to Food Lion off of Central Avenue and were walking home just before 7 o'clock that evening, and Anna was struck by a car. She suffered serious injuries that she still has not recovered from. And in 2020, Anna and Amber had to move back to Kentucky to be with extended family members to help care for her mom, who is still disabled and cannot care for herself. So I think that having a bikeable and walkable community is really something that's dear to my heart, and it affects lives. And I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Laura Jones.
Hello, I'm Laura Jones. I'm going to keep this quick. I have a business here in town. I live in town. And I wanted to speak about the bike safety and the walkability of Somerville. I really loved what Diane Frankenberger had to say about the areas of Cedar Street and West Richardson Avenue, where I have a business. It's like 4 lanes of traffic to go across those walkways, and it doesn't make any sense. And I loved her idea of doing the no right on red, because people are looking and I've seen people hit by cars and lots of accidents at those that intersection. And I would love to see that narrowed and slow traffic down. I understand there's a new Cedar Street extension. I'm not sure exactly what all that involves. But if it's to speed traffic to the interstate, I think we need to slow it down. I think we need to make our downtown a much more quiet destination for folks that want to bike and ride and walk, and you can park. It's all good. We've got, great businesses now in downtown, but now that we've had a successful Hutchinson Square redo, I'd love to see some focus maybe on the perimeters of our downtown. Go south, go north, east, west, but better traffic walkways, crossways. And I would love to see diagonal parking return to Cedar Street. I think that would narrow it down. And I think even the 2 lanes on West Richardson Avenue from Pine Street to the East Richardson, it widens to 4 lanes. It doesn't make sense. People just tear down that street, and then they have to come to a screeching halt and go back to 2 lanes again. It doesn't make any sense. So if we could narrow that down, do some diagonal parking, it would provide more parking for the businesses downtown. Maybe some better sidewalks, aesthetics, and landscaping through all that area would be it would be interesting to see a study on that. Like Eric was saying, bring some design studies to that area for our downtown. I know there's lots of areas that have been talked about, but that's my focus. So anyway, thank you. And I hope that we'll take a look at that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And Vincent Thurman.
Councilman and Mr. Mayor. The one thing I've learned though is to get here early so everybody won't say what you're gonna say. So I've learned that. My name is Vincent Thurman, and I'm just here in support of the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, and also to support It's Time to Make Somerville a Walkable town. Our goals are the same, which is to transfer Somerville into a walkable, bikeable, and pedestrian-friendly town. In doing so, we need to update our sidewalks, control street intersections, update our crosswalks, and make things safer for our citizens and mainly for our kids. A lot has been said tonight, and I don't want to repeat anything. I'm in support of safety. I'm in support of making sure things go well for everybody. I'm excited about the committee. I'm so excited about the new mayor. We start today and we move forward, and that's what we want to do. So I charge the committee, I charge the council to take a look at our infrastructure, take a hard look at our recommendations, and see what we can do to make everything that's been said tonight come to fruition. Make those changes, make Somerville what it's gonna be, make it continue to be great. And again, I'm excited because I know things are gonna move in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the attendees 2 questions?
Yes, sir.
How many here know that we're already redoing Main Street from here to Highway 78. Okay, and have also designed and are moving towards the construction phase of Central Avenue sidewalks. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Next, executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for executive session to discuss items A and B on the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're in executive session. Thank you.